Today we're talking about Danish director, provocateur, Lars von Trier, and I want to know down in the comments what is your favorite Lars von Trier project, or do you hate them all equally? Because that seems to be a popular answer also. Hello, I'm Adam Cesare. This is Project Black T-shirt, the channel where we take a new release horror film and then pair it with a piece of horror fiction that you might like if you enjoy that film. Please like this video, subscribe if you want to see more videos like it. Right up front, I'm going to say something I don't normally say with my reviews because usually I'm spoiler phobic, but it is almost impossible to talk about Lars von Trier's The House That Jack Built and not delve into spoilers and not delve into thematics and what does it all mean. So this is going to be a kind of full spoiler review. It's not what I usually do here, but you've been forewarned. If you want to see the film, if you want to go in unspoiled, I'm not going to tell you every little thing, but we're going to have to talk about some kind of third act developments. So The House That Jack Built just screened all around the country. IFC Films did a one night only see the director's cut version of the film on the big screen, and I'm actually not sure how much of that is marketing hoopla and how much of the film is going to be cut once it's on VOD. As a marketing tactic, it worked. My theater here in Philadelphia was sold out. It was not only sold out, but they opened up an overflow theater because so many people were trying to get in. And the film plays like gangbusters. Right before the movie, there were two different introductions from the star, Matt Dillon. He comes up, he basically, he alludes to the fact that when this movie played at the Cannes Film Festival, there were walkouts, there were boos, there were hisses, which is not entirely rare for the Cannes Film Festival. Also not entirely rare for director Lars von Trier, who is of being a persona non grata at Cannes and was effectively banned for a little while. Came back with this movie. And then the second introduction was from von Trier himself, looking very bedraggled, basically telling everyone not to rush to judgment, that the film takes a few days to digest, I think were his words. But this being the internet, I just saw it last night, so I've only given myself one day to digest, but I've been thinking about it pretty constantly in the hours since seeing it last night. The House That Jack Built is ostensibly a serial killer film. It fits very neatly in the genre. Maybe right alongside, maybe it's bookended by Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer and Man Bites Dog. It is disgusting. It is purposefully disgusting, upsetting, but also what you don't normally get with a film like this, where it is so provocative. It's also very, very funny, and we were even encouraged in the Matt Dillon introduction to laugh if we wanted to and scream if we wanted to. It's kind of that knowingness and that playing with not only the conventions of the serial killer genre, but also the fact that Lars von Trier has gone from kind of indie wonderkind auteur to like enfant terrible with his Dogme 95, to art house darling, to now basically in his middle age, the world's most reviled troll. I think especially beginning with Antichrist, he'd moved into this kind of cinema of the grotesque, and is just really, really trying to push buttons with his films, mashing up genre elements with these art house elements. If you can kind of tell, I'm a little bit at a loss for words for The House That Jack Built. I guess it's almost 10 years ago now, but in college, the final paper I had written for my final film class, which was a class about Scandinavian cinema, Antichrist had come out that year. Come out like a couple months before the end of the class, but I was like, oh, I'll make my final film paper for this class and basically ever about Antichrist, and I had a similar feeling to what I have in this movie, and I've only seen this movie once. I saw it last night. As of right now, there is no VOD. There is no way to see it again, to rewatch this. But it's so dense and has such a puckish spirit to it that I have no idea what parts to take seriously and what parts to kind of write off as straight provocateur goofing, because I really do think von Trier does that, and I think he delights in that, and that's the kind of enjoyment of this film, where it's separated into 5 incidents. We're taking glimpses from a serial killer's life, and the serial killer is talking to someone at the beginning, and not too far into the film, it is revealed that he is talking to, you're like, is this a priest that he's confessing to? Is he being walked down death row? No, he's talking to Virgil, the poet Virgil, as fictionalized in the Divine Comedy, as he's bringing Matt Dillon's character down the levels of hell. And as they're walking, as they're kind of touring hell, and you kind of see this in the back half of the film, you see, you just hear the audio of it for the first, maybe 2/3 of the movie, and then for the back end, you're like, oh no, he's really walking him through hell while they're having this discussion, while Matt Dillon is kind of bragging about the murders he's committed and the different art pieces he's made out of these murders. And Matt Dillon plays an engineer who wants to be an architect, but he sucks at both of those things. He's this kind of ultimate egotist who really revels in his kind of genius, whether it's winkingly or not. He's gotten away with all these murders for so long just out of either dumb luck or police incompetence, or like some kind of mixing of like divine intervention and him just being almost like the Forrest Gump of murders. When people are going to be angry at this movie, and when people are going to talk about this movie, it has a kind of built-in defense in that Virgil himself is disgusted by these things, and Virgil is the sane counterpoint to Jack's braggadocio of, I did this, I did that, I killed these people this way. Virgil calls him on his possible definite misogyny. Virgil calls him on his grandiose ideas of himself. Well, you're not really like a genius, you're just a fascist, and all these different things. And then that melds into a discussion of iconography, and then that's where it gets really, really trolling, because after you see footage of like Idi Amin and Mussolini, von Trier starts cutting in clips from his own films. It is a bizarre movie. It is dense as all hell. It is mannered in its acting style and its dialogue. It took me like 10 or 15 minutes to really click in, because the first sequence is an extended sequence where Matt Dillon and his kind of first victim, Uma Thurman, are in a car together. He picks her up on the side of the road, and it's very reminiscent of like what if Lars von Trier wrote a cutaway from Pulp Fiction, especially because you have Tarantino's muse there, Uma Thurman. They're having this long discussion, this mannered dialogue, and it really did take me like 10 minutes. Okay, this is the way people are going to talk in this movie. This is the way Matt Dillon's going to talk. And then by the end of the film, I was kind of like amazed at Matt Dillon's performance. He's not an actor I typically think of as having a ton of range, but I think part of the way that Lars von Trier films him and his performance, there's something to Matt Dillon where he's like kind of like he can really vacillate between like corny, exaggerated, handsome features goofball and like someone who's actually kind of menacing. It's a really interesting performance. Like the way these episodes are set up almost feels like it's an anthology, different tonally each time. We start out with 2 kind of more openly comedic things, and they're upsetting, but they're not like you're really wondering like how much is von Trier in on the joke here. And then you reach this middle section where you kind of have that ultimate taboo of, is he going to kill kids? And then you hear it in theater, like people were having like a good kind of almost B-movie time. The tenor of the room changed immediately. all the air kind of went out of the room, and you heard people shuffling in the back. I think I heard a couple people walk out at that point, and then it kind of goes back into this goofballness, and then you really undercut what we just saw, and it's really an experiment in like playing an audience. So if you can see this movie, I don't know if they're going to do any more of these screenings, but if you can see this movie with other people, if you're interested in it, I definitely would. They're going to do a theatrical release of whatever the non-director's cut version is. I don't know what they're going to do to get an R-rated cut of this movie. It's good. I really enjoyed it. I have to think about it a little bit more to see where I would put it along my von Trier rankings. And again, he's such an interesting filmmaker because I really don't know how much to take him seriously. I don't know how much to take his films seriously. I don't know how much his films take themselves seriously. But I know that I've enjoyed pretty much every one I've seen in one way or another. They do make me a little angry, but I think that's kind of the part of it. And I think that anger and confusion is it's like his stock and trade. I don't know. There's something to be said for a movie that's like 2.5 hours of Matt Dillon alternatively killing people and then like talking about what an artistic genius he is. That's like that should be boring. There should be, I should have like strong feelings of like, oh, get this over with. Like I don't know if I want to sit here for 2.5 hours. But the movie moves, the movie flies. It's like a kind of a roller coaster from beginning to end. The ending itself, gobsmacking in how deep into Lars von Trier art house territory it goes. The movie is like kind of starts out as about as straightforward as traditional as any of his films have ever been, and then it's like slowly goes into von Trier territory as he's like just kind of that parable about like the frog in the boiling water, like you think it's a hot tub and then before you know it you're cooked, and that's what The House That Jack Built is. It is Lars von Trier's boiling hot tub. All right, that almost made absolutely no sense, but for this week's book recommendation, I want to suggest, because The House That Jack Built takes advantage of so many kind of serial killer tropes, and I've got to say, not a subgenre I particularly enjoy. I really like Henry, I like Man Bites Dog, Mary Harron's American Psycho is another one I enjoy, but I think, especially as far as horror fiction goes, when it's like a serial killer, you have kind of the worst impulses of the horror small press kind of take root, and you get gore for gore's sake, you get sloppy storytelling, you get this seems like this might be some self-published dude's kind of list of things he wants to do to women. Like that's what you kind of get in some horror fiction that is in the serial killer genre. Not so with Mr. Suicide by Nicole Cushing. Very upsetting, very unique and weird, kind of like The House That Jack Built, where it starts as something like you've got a kid, you know, like you've got like that kind of cruelty to animals, you got like all the hallmarks of like what we think of, or like the cliches of what we think of as a serial killer story, and then it goes in a kind of different direction. I like it a lot. I thought it was great. I think I've even talked about it on the channel before, but who can remember? I'm Adam Cesare. This has been Project Black T-shirt. Like, subscribe. My other videos make a whole lot more sense because I'm not on cold medicine and rambling about Danish filmmaker Lars von Trier. I write books. Please check those out. If you go to my website, join my mailing list, I'll send you a free sample of those. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day.